At 11:21 p.m. and 34 seconds, a cursor appears briefly on screen, indicating the video may have been recorded with a camera or a screen recording and was not an export of the RAW file.
They had this raw material, they edited it, they saved it, they then brought it back, edited it again, and then saved it once more.
Disrupted America, divide fuck.
Weird thing to happen. So incredibly, CBS News did this investigation. I'm shocked that a mainstream outlet did their own investigation and actually looked through the data analysis and came up with this report about Jeffrey Epstein and his prison cell footage. So this was the footage that the Trump administration, that Pam Bondi, that it's the full coverage. This should be putting the nail in the coffin that Jeffrey Epstein did self-delete himself, that obviously we shouldn't be questioning it. Obviously we shouldn't be looking into it. But we knew, looking into the footage, we knew that there was a lot of flaws. There was a lot of plot holes to the information that was being provided. And we know that the Trump administration is deeply involved in the cover-up, mostly because, in hindsight of this, that we know possibly that Trump is on the Epstein files. And we know that Trump has big donors. We know that a lot of donors in the Trump campaign, on the Trump train, are directly connected to this Epstein scandal. It's a big, giant club. And that has always been a theory as far back as knowing about Jeffrey Epstein, that this was a big, massive global cabal of people. And now knowing this information, especially reading through Whitney Webb's book, One Nation Under Blackmail, all it does is confirm it. That this is about blackmail, this is about deceit, this is about exploiting people, putting them in compromising positions, and then using that information to get after them for total control and domination. So CBS did this report. It says CBS News investigates of Jeffrey Epstein jail video reveals new discrepancies. So I'm not going to go through all of this because it's a lengthy report. And then there's also a very long video that's attached to this. So here's a bit of it, though. In the weeks after Jeffrey Epstein died at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan in August 2019, then Attorney General William Barr said his new personal review of surveillance footage clearly showed that no one entered the area where Epstein was housed, leading him to agree with the conclusion of the medical examiner that Epstein had died by self-deletion. But if you remember, the coroner who actually examined the body confirmed the exact opposite, that there was no possible way that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. There was no possible way after the coroner examined the body. But they didn't listen to them. They didn't listen to the coroner. They didn't listen to investigators. They just went with the official narrative because they want to cover up this factor. They want to cover up more and more of this scandal because of all who's involved in this. And correct me if I'm wrong, 2019, who was president at the time when Jeffrey Epstein was locked in captivity, put on suicide watch, and then took an off suicide watch the moment that he died? Who was president at the time? Just saying. It's a claim that's been repeated by other top federal officials, including FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who said on Fox News, Fox and Friends in May, there's clear video as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. But a CBS News analysis of the video the FBI made public earlier this month reveals that the recording didn't provide a clear view of the entrance to Epstein's cell block, one of several contradictions between officials' descriptions of the video and the video itself. CBS News also digitally reconstructed the Special Housing Unit, or SHU, where Epstein was held, using diagrams and descriptions from the 2023 report on Epstein released by the Justice Department Inspector General. The CBS News review found the video does little to provide evidence to support claims that were later made by federal officials. Additionally, CBS News has identified multiple inconsistencies between that report and the video that raised serious questions about the accuracy of witness statements and the thoroughness of the government's investigation. The review doesn't refute the conclusion that Epstein died by self-deletion, but it raises questions about the strength and credibility of the government's investigation, which appears to have drawn conclusions from the video that are not readily observable. So I'm kind of actually shocked that CBS would put this analysis out there. Maybe it has to do with payback on the Paramount lawsuit that Donald Trump put on them that they had to pay, I think it was like $16 million. Maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe it's something to do with Colbert being fired. I don't know what the case is, but it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible that a mainstream outlet like CBS News is going to reveal this information. Like, this would sound like something Alex Jones would be ranting about in the middle of his podcast. Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein, after looking at the video footage, I don't believe that's conclusive enough that he did self-delete himself. But of course, CBS News had to do a bit of legal damage by claiming that, well, we don't know for sure if he did kill himself or not. We can't confirm nor deny that, but you be the judge of that. So this is the main part of it. This is why I don't want to read the entire article, because this guy points out CBS News, yes, that's CBS News, dropped a very good breakdown of the Epstein prison video the FBI claimed was real and unaltered. I'm not an expert, but I've been editing videos for a living for over a decade, and I didn't see anything they pointed out that I disagree with. This video is 100% an op. What the end state of the op is, I have no idea. So this is what CBS News, in part of their investigation, is reporting about the Epstein jail cell video that the Trump administration put out, and they claim that this is proof that Epstein killed himself. There's no need to investigate and people need to move on. But CBS News found otherwise. So watch this.
This month, the Federal Bureau of Investigation released the primary video used in the investigation of the death of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, described that video on Fox and Friends just weeks before its release.
There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
So just to keep in mind, Dan Bongino, when he was still a podcaster, told his viewers frequently to never let this go. Never let this go. Something's at play. They're doing a cover-up. The government's involved in this. We know that there's more and more people. Keep harping on this. And now that Dan Bongino is now the deputy FBI director in a comfy position within the government, he comes forward with, hey, there's no need to investigate. I will bring out evidence. I will bring out detailed, unaltered, and you guys can shut the hell up. No investigations, no questions, no concerns. Just deal with it. And I don't know, I'm not a body language expert, but you tell me if Dan Bongino looks conflicted. Maybe he's either part of this scandal or been told by his handlers to keep this on the down low, because we know Dan Bongino really, really is supportive of Israel. That's what he stated. His number one priority when he got into government is Israel. So whether AIPAC lobbyists are down his throat, whether Trump officials are breathing down his neck, but this looks like a guy who's compromised. This looks like the face of someone that is getting scrutinized, that someone is fearing this information. That's why he's going on Fox News claiming that, we're doing everything we can. We're releasing this information. You guys shut the hell up and move on to something else. Talk about Sydney Sweeting for a while.
On Fox and Friends just weeks before its release.
There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
We showed this video to multiple video forensics experts who agreed what the FBI and others have said is simply not true. That video and other evidence led to the conclusion by the government that Epstein's death on August 10th, 2019 was suicide. An analysis in
So when you look at the diagrams of this prison, this is a maximum detention facility in Lower Manhattan. You think these two green doors here are jail cells. They're not. Those are entrances. Those are entrances to the jail cells, which are down that hallway there. You can see that there's staircases going up towards the jail cells, which are on the far corner here, which of course the camera does not capture. So this really is a major flaw into the entire claim that no one entered the building, no one was involved in this, that Jeffrey Epstein clearly killed himself. And as CBS News continues on, it's going to further dispute that claim, showing you, because they did a 3D modeling render of this facility, that the camera could not capture if there's a possibility that maybe someone did enter the building. So take a watch.
Consultation with video forensic experts suggests multiple inconsistencies between statements from government officials, including Bongino, a report from the Department of Justice's Office of the Inspector General into Epstein's death released in 2023, and the tape itself. These inconsistencies, while not contradicting the conclusion Epstein died by suicide, do introduce questions that the government so far has declined to answer. We'll show you those in a moment. First, let's break this all down. Epstein was held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan, in a unit separate from the general population known as the Special Housing Unit, or SHU. The unit has 3 wings, each with 2 levels. Epstein was held in the upstairs L tier of his wing. That tier is accessed by a set of stairs from the central common area. Directly adjacent to those stairs is the officers' station, where on-duty corrections officers spend most of their time. The Inspector General report says several cameras in the unit were streaming a live feed to a remote location in the prison, but no one was watching them. Malfunctioning equipment meant only one camera recorded the general area.
So think about that. Think about that. Maximum security facility. Multiple cameras around. No one bothered to look at the other cameras. No one bothered to look at any of the other footage, especially the cameras that are clear present view of Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell, which you can see over there. That's the one shaded in red. But they go to the far camera of the main foyer outside where the security desk is that completely blocks off anyone that came up those stairs. So someone could have easily went to the side of the wall here, could have easily went down the side of the wall, up those stairs, and right into Epstein's jail cell without notice. That's what makes this so conflicting. That's what makes this so obvious that this was a dupe. This was a PSYOP opportunity by the Trump administration. This was them duping their own supporters and people highly interested and regarded in the Epstein scandal for them to stay silent. Saying, hey, we got footage, okay? We got footage. We showed it to you. We can't explain these inconsistencies, so shut the hell up and move on. Forget about Peter Files. Forget about that. Forget about Ghislaine Maxwell. Forget about this international sex trafficking cult. Just move on to something else. Talk about, straws. Talk about Sydney Sweeting having good genes. I don't care. Do something culture war shit. Distract yourselves.
That camera captured part of the common area, including the officer's station and a sliver of the staircase leading to Epstein's.
So there you go. Someone could have easily went up the staircase because the camera did not capture that. That puts a major flaw into the entire argument the Trump administration is making. And why would they make this argument? Because they are trying to cover it up the same way the Democrats are covering up, the same way everybody's covering this up, because of who's involved on this list. It's an international scandal, ladies and gentlemen. This is not just an American crime. This is not just one city, one town, one person. This is an entire laundry list of people. And Trump's name is more than likely on that list.
Cell. The footage begins at 7:40 p.m. the night before Epstein's death. You can see staff and inmates moving about, preparing for the nightly lockdown. That's the officer's station in the background. Only 2 employees have been publicly identified. Tova Noel, a corrections officer pulling a double shift that began at 4 p.m., and Michael Thomas, a materials handler who won't arrive until midnight. Epstein is seen for the first and only time on camera at 7:49 p.m. when the Department of Justice said he was escorted to his cell from another wing of the unit. It's important to note here, you don't actually see Epstein ascend the stairwell to his cell block. Remember what Dan...
So that's an interesting point that they make. Because they claim that that orange figure, that right there, that's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what they claim is walking towards the stairwell. But does that prove that he walked and ushered into his jail cell? Because there's also speculation of Jeffrey Epstein being still alive and never kept in captivity. That all this was completely made up. So this has more questions than answers. This has more questions. This has more alarming. And that's why someone like me here in Canada is going to keep harping on this. One, because it's an international scandal involving sex trafficking, involve exploitation and diabolical means and blackmail. Again, go read Whitney Webb's book, and you will exactly know why this scandal is so important, why they have to keep this under wraps, why for so many years they kept this going. And it's far beyond Jeffrey Epstein, far beyond Ghislaine Maxwell. It involves an entire slew of people involved in this. But this video just raises more questions. So that's why I'm going to keep harping on this. Because we're not getting answers. We're getting more and more psyops to try to dupe people to stay quiet. That's what all this is.
7:49 p.m. when the Department of Justice said he was escorted to his cell from another wing of the unit. It's important to note here, you don't actually see Epstein ascend the stairwell to his cell block. Remember what Dan Bongino said.
There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
Let's zoom in and play that again in slow motion. Here's the sliver of stairs. Epstein is here with his escort, and they walk off screen. When the FBI released the video, they said anyone entering or attempting to enter the tier where Epstein's cell was located from the common area would have been captured by this footage. But with the primary entrance here, the pathway from the entrance to the stairs is completely out of view of the camera. For the next hour...
So again, someone could easily bypass the security camera and walked along this way, along the wall, up the stairs, right into his cell without noticing. This is supposed to be a maximum security facility in Lower Manhattan. But all they give you is one camera that's conveniently not capturing the access to Jeffrey Epstein's cell. Too conveniently out of the way. Too conveniently not being able to capture the night that Jeffrey Epstein supposedly killed himself. So the whole video, the video that the Trump administration put out, it's a psyop. It's there to psych you out and for people to shut the hell up about it. hey, we released this footage, so people can't be asking more questions. We did our part. Shut the hell up.
Completely out of view of the camera. For the next hour or so, corrections officers and inmates are seen moving about, preparing for all prisoners to be locked down. At 8:21, another inmate is seen being escorted toward the stairs leading to Epstein's cell area. No movement is detected on the stairs again. By 8:24, all of the inmates appear to have been taken to their cells. Noelle told the Inspector General she visited Epstein's cell at about 10 p.m. You can see her head in that direction here, albeit
Just
closer
speed
to
this up a bit.
10:30, but not climb the stairs. The rules require rounds to be made every 30 minutes, but according to the report, this was the only time anyone checked on the inmates that night. There was even a sign printed on orange paper posted on the guard station saying mandatory rounds must be conducted every 30 minutes on.
So, according to the prison, it's mandatory that the security guards make consistent rounds, meaning checking on the prisoners. Conveniently, that one night, the night that supposedly Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, they didn't do this. They didn't do the mandatory rounds. They only checked on them once, and that was it. Conveniently, that same night. So, this just raises more questions than answers to this whole situation, which is why someone like me is going to continue asking questions, continue harping on this, because this whole thing smells rotten from the get-go. The moment that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, when they told you that we're going to clean things up, we're going to get in there, we're going to make sure that the FBI does their part in releasing this information. We cannot protect these criminal elite pedophiles in government, in positions of power. The moment they got in, they completely did a 180. So, something got to give. They were either complicit, they either their lobbyists or their handlers were breathing down their necks, or maybe they're part of the scandal. I can't confirm nor deny that, because I'm still investigating, which is what a lot of people should be doing, because the government has failed them.
Epstein, as per God. This was because of concerns about his risk for suicide. At 10:38 p.m., the report says someone, probably Noelle, carries a bundle of bedding or clothing up the stairs. It's a rare instance the video does catch movement on the stairs, but barely. Let's see that zoomed in and in slow motion again. Several of the video forensic experts we spoke with were skeptical about the report's conclusion and thought that the video could be showing an inmate walking up the stairs. Authorities say this was the last time anyone approached his cell block until his body was discovered the next morning. Again, while the video does not contradict that, experts who viewed the video say the limited field of view makes it impossible to definitively conclude that no one used those stairs in that time period. Beyond this, there are other issues our investigation and others have uncovered. At 11:21 p.m. and 34 seconds, a cursor appears briefly on screen, indicating the video may have been recorded with a camera or a screen recording and was not an export of the RAW file. The FBI said it had seized the prison's hard drive 5 days after his death and had released the full RAW footage this month. Two experts told CBS News the video's metadata, which tracks how a file is created and changed, shows it's made from two clips stitched together in editing software. Those experts also say the video was edited and saved multiple times.
So, while Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Caroline Leavitt, Donald Trump consistently tell you that this is raw footage, this is unedited, this is all organic, the proof is in the pudding, the fact that a cursor appears on screen, which that could tell you that is not raw material from a security camera, that clearly it was brought to a computer, possibly altered or whatever. But also the documents prove that they had this raw material, they edited it, they saved it, they then brought it back, edited it again, and then saved it once more. So this is not raw material. That the video footage that they were trying to claim to people that this was supposed to be groundbreaking was clearly altered. Clearly altered. And they said that there possibly is two different video files merged together. That someone edited two copies of this footage and put them together. Which you'll see later on, there's a brief moment where the time jumps. There's a brief minute where the time just jumps to right to midnight. And people have been asking about that minute. And Of course, the Trump administration made ridiculous excuses. Well, let's watch it, and then you'll judge
Next
for
up,
yourself.
the now famous missing minute. At 11:57 and 35 seconds, an individual appears on screen from the direction of the main door. It's likely this is Michael Thomas arriving for his midnight shift and replacing the other staff member on duty who'd been working from 4 to midnight. Noel was starting a second shift of 8 hours. From that point on, only Noel and Thomas were on duty during the critical window when Epstein is believed to have died. At 11:58 and 58 seconds, the video jumps to midnight, and the aspect ratio of the video changes slightly. Another indication it may have been edited. Zooming in.
So, a complete minute is gone from the video. And they also pointed out that the aspect ratio changes. Again, discrediting their claim that this is raw footage. Because if it's raw footage, the aspect doesn't change. The aspect doesn't change so suddenly. It's like a jump cut. So, this is clearly dismantling the Trump administration in their claims that this is the raw footage, that we're getting the Epstein, tell-all, that this is supposed to be groundbreaking. Completely dismantling that.
Playing back in slow motion, you can see a slight shift in the shape of the figures standing or sitting around the officer's desk, but otherwise, nothing changes. Attorney General Pam Bondi attributed the missing minute to a nightly reset of the security camera system.
There was a minute that was off the counter, and what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999, so every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing, so we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night.
That additional video has not been released, and a government source is
So Pam Bondi, that is a full-out lie. That is a full-out lie. She's claiming that this state-of-the-art maximum security facility that Jeffrey Epstein is housed, that they said it was top-notch in Lower Manhattan, that people are going to be safe and relieved, that a guy like Epstein is locked away in here, has faulty cameras. One, if you're stating that, first of all, it's a lie, because what we know now with the CBS investigation. But two, if the cameras are that faulty that they have to reset every single night because they're installed from the 90s, how is that state-of-the-art maximum facility? How is that a state-of-the-art maximum facility when you have cameras that don't work? How does that reassure the value that you properly dealt with Jeffrey Epstein? That you properly locked him away? Again, this is in 2019, so Trump was president then. How could we be assured that you did the proper thing in prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein when you put them in a facility, claimed that was top-notch maximum security, and then claimed that, the cameras are faulty? That's why there's that minute gap. That's why the aspect ratio resetted. Because the cameras are from like the 90s. It makes you wonder a lot of things. It makes you wonder what they're doing with that private prison money. I thought they were supposed to be collaborating, making AI automated prison capture systems. I thought that was the whole point of putting more to the private prison industry. And now you got faulty cameras at a maximum facility. Good job. Good job.
To CBS News, the FBI and other agencies are in possession of the full, unedited footage. Why the FBI did not release that is unclear, and the agency offered no comment. Importantly, the Inspector General gives no indication there was a minute missing when their team reviewed the video. We can surmise the male staffer working the 4 to 12 shift would have left during the missing minute based on the report, leaving just Noel and Thomas. But that is not seen on camera. Serious problems with the government's investigation and witness statements don't end there. The report says the unit was secured by 2 doors, one requiring a key held only by Noel and Thomas. Noel told investigators no one could enter without her physically opening that door. But here's where it gets tricky. Let's look at this one example. 4 a.m. Noel remains in full view of the camera, yet seconds later, someone walks in, and it appears neither Noel nor Thomas let her in. The report is silent on this apparent contradiction. And even if there was no other key, both Noel and Thomas had ample opportunities to let someone in. At least a half dozen times, one or the other of them exits the camera frame in the direction of the door, all without explanation. We shared this with our forensic experts, who agreed there was no way to conclusively determine from the video whether an unseen visitor was or was not let into the Epstein unit, although both Noel and Thomas have said no one else entered. At 6:22, either Thomas or Noel walk off screen again and reappear carrying food trays, breakfast for the prisoners. At this point, based on the autopsy results, Epstein is believed to already be dead. According to Thomas's account, he arrived at Epstein's cell to deliver his breakfast and found him in a seated position, his buttocks an inch from the ground, held up by a torn sheet tied to the bunk bed in his room. At 6:30, someone rushes in from off camera, according to the report. This was
is great. This is great. It's highlighting a lot of flaws here. So, before we get into finding his carcass in a seated position with a paper sheet that apparently he hanged himself with, which is just so hysterical beyond belief to think that that's supposedly how he killed himself. Just note the fact that the security guard states that no one can get into the building without her opening the door. But somehow, this rando person who was not the one or the other security guard who was supposed to be present at the time entered the building. They can't identify who that person is. But somehow he got access to the facilities, access to near Jeffrey Epstein's cell, without the ability of having one of the security guards physically open the door. So there's a major flaw there. Now, note the fact that when they discovered Jeffrey Epstein's body at 6:30 by breakfast time, that apparently he was in a seated position. He was in a seated position when he somehow hanged himself with paper sheets. That is physically impossible. Physically impossible for that to happen. It defies the laws of all physics. And I'm not a medical examiner. I'm not an expert in criminology. But I can tell you, a paper sheet having the ability to hang someone who is, I would say, roughly 180, 190 pounds. I don't know exactly his weight, nor does that matter. Being able to hold someone in a seated position just makes absolutely no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. So, this just, again, raises so many questions to this whole entire thing. And for the FBI, for Pam Bondi, for Caroline Leavitt, for the Trump administration, for everybody to just be so complicit to this. Even Trump followers on social media disclaiming what CBS is saying here and just going with Trump's messaging. Because anything with Daddy Trump is great. It's just so insane. It's so insane. This is clearly a psyop. Clearly edited footage that they use to exploit people, that they use to shush people up, that they purposely put together in a last-minute effort, because I could tell you, as someone that edits videos frequently, I could do this 100 times better than what they did. I would definitely make sure that a cursor wasn't appearing on screen, or the fact that the footage doesn't have two different aspect ratios, or missing an entire minute. I'd make hell more believable footage than what apparently the FBI put together. So it's just such disparaging. It's so disparaging that for such a long time, people were having high hopes to this, and I even myself had high hopes to this because I thought it was kind of interesting that the Trump administration going into the 2024 campaign mentioned about this. I thought it was kind of incredible. I thought it was incredible that, we're going to release this information. We're going to release the JFK files. We're going to release the MLK files. Having this transparency. I thought that was pretty extraordinary. I thought that, hey, even though Trump is a con artist and a loudmouth, that even him mentioning about this is pretty impactful. So I had a little bit of hope. That maybe things are going to follow through, that maybe their campaign promises were correct. But clearly, Trump being complicit to this, Trump being part of the cover-up, Trump insisting that people not talk about this after rallying people up throughout his campaign, clearly just demonstrates that no matter who's in office, even if it's a loudmouth bastard like Trump, there are people in control of power. There are people higher up, way beyond the White House, way beyond government offices, that have full control and capacity to exploit countries. And this is why. This is why. Because Trump is obviously possibly on that list. And he's covering up not only for his own benefit, but also we know that a lot of donors are also involved in this scandal. So if any information got out, including how Jeffrey Epstein died in the prison cell, or maybe not died, we don't really even know for sure. It could be a scam in altogether that this footage came out. That for them to cover this up, and obviously for the Democrats to cover this up, because people will say, well, what about the Democrats? Why didn't they release it if they knew Trump was on the list? Obviously, because the Democrats are also on this list. It's a big, giant international conglomeracy of highly powerful figures. Highly powerful figures. We're not just talking about celebrities. We're not just talking about weirdos on the street. We're talking about royalty. We're talking about bankers. We're talking about billionaires. We're talking about philanthropists. We talk about people with high influence and power around the world that obviously want to keep this quiet. And no matter who's in control, no matter who's in office, even if it's a guy like Trump, even if it's a guy that gives you all these amazing promises that you thought, hey, maybe there's something to this, it's never going to follow through because of who is in control of the entire system. And it's far greater, far more powerful, far more darkening than Donald Trump. The president doesn't control the United States. It's the lobbyists. It's the people by President Trump's ear. The same way with Canada. The same way with all countries. Like the movie Network. You know? You don't have countries anymore. You have big international companies and organizations and the international flow of dollars. And obviously, they're going to keep this under wraps. And if you read Whitney Webb's book, which I highly recommend people do, it's all about exploitation. It's all about keeping that power structure afloat of highly, just criminally insane, psychopathic, soulless monsters afloat. And if anything got out on this Epstein case, if anything got out, if people start asking more and more questions, which they should be doing, then they are in deep trouble because that power structure will crumble. That's why they're keeping this under wraps. That's why they gave us shabby material claiming it's raw footage when clearly even CBS News can't lie to their audience that they did an investigation. So kudos on them for doing that. I don't know why they did it. Could it be that because of the follow through of the lawsuit? I don't know if it's to get back at Trump. Whatever the case may be, whatever the intent, kudos on them, and keep on questioning.